On August 19, a domestic abuse survivor shelter was opened in the corporate area, and we invited Executive Director of Women Inc., Joyce Hewitt, to tell us all about it. So she's with us this morning. It's always a pleasure to have her. Good morning, Miss Hewitt. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Awesome to see you. So tell me a little bit about the shelter, as much as you can, because being a shelter, there are some things you can't. But tell me a little bit about this new shelter.
Yes, well, in fact, it's more than a shelter. It's actually a transition home whereby women can come and stay for a much longer period of time, because generally, we have a shelter that we've had for years, but that particular shelter is really an emergency temporary accommodation. This particular building that was just handed over by the Embassy of Japan in Jamaica is actually a long-term facility. It is something that women can come to without fear that they will have to leave within 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month. They can stay up to 1 year, and if necessary, even longer. We'll treat each case on its own merit. But the bottom line is that, a lot of times women don't leave their abusive situations because they have nowhere to go.
Right.
And this will give them somewhere to go. That is in the, yes, it is in the corporate area, but it is my hope that, eventually this will be something that we look at across the island, because when we're talking, we've often talked about shelter, 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 and needing one in every parish. But nowadays, it's more than just the shelter itself. It is about the long-term availability that people can come and stay for as long as they need in order to get back on their feet, to get their lives together. Yes.
One of the ways in which you're helping them is by doing skills training, because as you're aware, gender-based violence sometimes is rooted in that, the inability to be independent, and it makes them more vulnerable. So tell me about that aspect of the program.
Well, we're going to do skills training, and as a matter of fact, thank goodness for the British High Commission and Women's Leadership Initiative, who helped us equip it, because while the building was turned over and done in terms of the rehabilitation by the Japanese and the Embassy of Japan, we didn't have anything more than a building. And now what we have as a result of the real work, which is furnishing and actually equipment, we have a state-of-the-art equipment facility whereby we have the training room that is separate and apart. And in that training room, we will be able to provide the women from their skill level and take it up. Sometimes they have no skills at all, have never been exposed, and that is one set of women. Then you might have another set of women who, in fact, have skills, but just need to expand on those skills and strengthen those skills. So we will be working at each and every level. It is our intention, of course, to draw upon what is available already. For example, we're not going to try and reinvent the wheel. We're going to have anything that we can do with heart training, because they have so much training. And in terms of women who have no skills at all, we'll start them at the basics.
Yeah.
It can be something as fundamental as learning to put flowers, in terms of arrangements together. It may be something that basket making, a lot of times, and especially gift baskets, that's something that everybody has a need for in all occasions.
Correct.
So those are the kinds of things that we will be addressing, and it's their skill level wherever they are, and then whatever they need to take it further so that they themselves can be independent and have an income producing skill that they can.
Yeah, globally since COVID-19, unfortunately, we've seen an increase in levels of gender-based violence, not just here in Jamaica. How do women who are watching now access the shelter? Joyce? I know and how in terms of numbers are you operating during this pandemic?
Well, during the pandemic, we have capacity where we have to limit it, of course, as a result of COVID, where we had built it and had the capacity intended for 10 persons. Now we have to reduce it to half, which is going to be 5, but that's 5 more persons who ordinarily would not have somewhere to go. Of course, those adjustments will be made as we get out of COVID, which we do expect to get out of COVID at some point in time, so that we do now start with that minimum level. And if it is a family, of course, then they can share a bedroom, for example, but not just a single person, where we ordinarily would have had 2 persons to a room.
Right.
That can't happen now with COVID. And yes, with regard to the expansion and just having this available is going to be a big plus, because the training facility is going to be available not only for women who are residing there, but also for women who come to us. And by coming to us, by the way, it is the hotline number. The access to Woman Inc. is by way of the hotline number, which is 929 that's the admin number I see showing, but the hotline number is 929-2997. That's 929-2997. And the reason that we always use that number is because we are a 24/7 operation under that hotline. And I need to stop and give thanks to all of the volunteers. The hotline is manned strictly by volunteers when it is off hours. During the day, of course, during a regular weekday, of course, and except, with lockdown and all of that. But normally you would find somebody is there for any walk-in, and of course, even that is limited now. But there's someone there at the office on the main work days, and then after they leave, it is the volunteers who keep the hotline going. So that hotline is available, and then based on the person's call and what information they give, then the decision may be made. Either they might need the temporary emergency shelter that we continue to operate, and then of course, if they need the transition home as well. Sometimes it may be somebody who's at the crisis center and the shelter and then leave the shelter and then are placed in the home. Or it may be a situation where we take them directly into the transition home. Again, each case will be treated on its own merit.
Thank you so much, Joyce Hewitt, for all the work that you've done, that you continue to do, and congratulations on the shelter and how it will empower our women. Have an awesome day.
Yes, thank you. And thanks again to all of our volunteers and all of our benefactors. We have to give thanks for all of that.
All right, Joyce Hewitt, Executive Director of Woman Inc.